Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We have a wonderful webinar prepared for you with great information about how you can effectively target your ideal audience online, utilizing display advertising strategies and in-market email marketing. We here at Schneps Media offer a plethora of services, including print, events, webinars for our clients, streaming audio and video, and of course, online advertising. Please stay through to the end, guys. We'll have a Q&A. We'll answer any questions you might have. You could ask those along the way in the Q&A chat, but we just won't address them until the end. Also, if you have any interest in learning more about these solutions and how it can be specifically applied to your business and your ideal target audience, you could reach out to digitalsolutions@schnepsmedia.com, or you could reach out to the person who invited you today to set up a free one-on-one consultation where we'll review your target audience and how we might effectively advertise to them through these strategies, as well as others that might be applicable. We hope you enjoyed the presentation. I'm going to introduce to you Kelly and Chris, who will be taking it from here and going through the solutions we're highlighting today. Thank you very much and enjoy.
Great. Thank you, Kevin. All right, diving right in, like Kevin mentioned, we are going to review programmatic display, email, as well as a new in-market email product, device ID, which is a form of geofencing, and then we should have time at the end for any questions. So hopping right into programmatic display, starting with what programmatic display is. Simply, if publishers are not able to sell their inventory directly or privately, they'll put it up for auction where it's sold through an exchange or a demand-side platform. The demand-side platform that we use is called the Trade Desk. It's very reputable. I really like to think of it as the stock exchange for digital inventory. So it allows us to buy inventory from many different publisher and inventory sources and really be able to take advantage of all these different publishers and what they have to offer through one aggregated source. Looking at what programmatic displays are, really to make this simple, they're animated or static billboards on the internet. I'm sure you have all seen these either on a news site, maybe on a cooking site, ESPN.com, probably the most common form of digital advertising. You may also have heard these referred to as banner ads or maybe rich media ads. That's a little bit more of an outdated term. But essentially, display ads are going to appear next to content on websites, meaning they're not going to block or interrupt a viewing experience while someone's browsing a website, but rather it's really going to complement by being next to that content where that engaged user is reading. These types of ads they can appear on computers, mobile devices, desktop, tablet, and as you can see, these are some animated images or GIFs here, but we can also utilize static imagery. Another great feature for programmatic display is we can really track user behavior after they've clicked on the ad. That's when pixels come into place, when we can start to use site retargeting, but a really powerful, common way to create that overall branding and awareness for your business. So how do programmatic display ads work? Essentially, the retail stores and the restaurants that you frequent, websites that you visit, and really any online content that you're consuming leaves that digital footprint that can be used by marketers like us to create a more strategic ad campaign. With programmatic advertising specifically, we're using those fingerprints to match what kinds of users are using a website with ad campaigns that want to get in front of those kinds of users. And we'll look a little bit more in a couple of slides here at how we can go about targeting, but a really effective way online to be able to track your user and target a very specific target audience. And this is huge as a marketer or a business owner, because it means you're not spending that ad spend or wasting those dollars on anyone but that target audience you're going after. We can get very specific with behaviors and demographics and really maximizing the effectiveness of each dollar spent. This is probably my favorite slide in the entire presentation. I love having this slide up. It's the consumer journey or the sales funnel. And it's a really great slide to have up next to you when you're looking at strategies or creating that marketing plan. It's going to help you to understand where your customers are and then what products can help us reach that target audience at whatever pivotal moment they are in that sales funnel, whether that's at the very top, looking at branding and awareness, all the way down to something like a lower funnel product that drives conversions. So display can be really useful when you're trying to entice customers to enter at the top of the sales funnel. They might not necessarily have the intent to buy something, but we know based on things like those behaviors and demographics, their online behavior, that it is likely that they have been or will be interested in seeing this ad. And then, as I mentioned, we can use things like site retargeting pixels placed on our site to be able to retarget anyone who has visited our site, that highly engaged audience, to push them a little bit further down that sales funnel. So looking at the different ways we can target with display, thinking about traditional media, if you think about traditional media and matching that up to the right audience by putting the ad in the right medium. So what I mean by that, in the past, to target a business professional in a newspaper, you may place your ad in the business section of the local newspaper. Or maybe to target men between ages 18 and 45 on the radio, you're placing that ad during a talk show or a sports talk show to go even further. Digital ads take that a step further by really targeting the person directly. So we can target by content, which means the types of websites that they're on and consuming information. We can target demographically, so that could be age, ethnicity, marital status, presence of children. Behavioral targeting is probably the most commonly used form of targeting here, and I'll show you on the next slide. We can get very specific with the types of behavioral targeting we have available. Geography targeting, pretty straightforward there, really just targeting, that's the geography of our campaign. And then we have search and site retargeting, which can be utilized with that pixel. So site retargeting allows us to target users who have already visited our site. And search retargeting helps us target by what someone has searched for on various websites. So again, all part of this programmatic display advertising. All of these pieces work together to help us really dial in on that specific target audience that we're serving ads to. As I mentioned, we can get very specific with the types of targeting we have available, especially when it comes to behaviors and demographics. This is just a sample here. As Kevin mentioned, we'd love to put together a more customized plan for you. So please reach out if this is of interest so we can pull those behaviors and demographics to really show you how we can nail down on your target audience. And then, of course, we want to make sure that we're measuring results. So one of the great things about digital is we have these tangible results, and we're able to monitor the campaign as it progresses, and we're able to learn from it. So this is our live reporting dashboard. This is something that you'll have access to, but it really helps us make those informed decisions throughout the campaign when it comes to making optimizations and tweaks on the campaign. So really great information in here, full dashboard that you'll have access to, including the delivery, impressions, clicks. We'll be able to see any conversions in this dashboard, information on the audience that we're targeting that we can learn from, the channels, the device types, and then creative performance to be able to do A/B testing or look to see which creatives have outperformed others. And then this last slide here for the programmatic display just has a few examples. Again, you've probably seen these on your favorite news sites, maybe ESPN, cooking websites, very, very common form of digital advertising. All right, now I'm going to pass it over to Chris to talk a little bit about email marketing.
Thanks, Kelly. So as we look at email marketing, this is actually a really great way to get in front of people directly. And it's a great way to reach a lot of people very quickly as well. So when we look at targeted emails, really what you want to look at is like, it really is the modern day direct mail. We really want to get into people's inboxes right away. We want to make sure that we're targeting people with similar geographic, demographic, and similar targeting abilities that we would have for display. The main thing that we want to talk about when it comes to email is that there is no spam emails involved here. We are CAN spam compliant, meaning that we want to make sure that everybody has double opted in to receive the email marketing that we've included. One of the nice things about email is that we can track opens and clicks as well. And then we can also deliver ads to those folks that have either opened the email, they've clicked on the email, or redeliver an ad to somebody who has not opened that email as well. So there's a lot of different strategies that we'll utilize here. So how does email work? Emails are collected by online surveys, subscriptions, registrations, and anybody who's gone to specific websites looking for additional information. Nothing goes into a spam folder. So all the people on our list have confirmed again to receive that email. So we want to make sure that we're constantly going through that information, scrubbing out that data, and making sure that we're removing people who have opted out of receiving that information. Emails are only sent to inboxes that fit your audience or your targeting needs. So again, going back to the demographic and geographic audience that we discussed with display, those same parameters would apply here.
I'll also point out one of the neat features with email is we have the ability to dedupe lists. So if you already have a list of customers that you send email to or direct mail to, we can remove those customers from our email list to make sure we're not duplicating efforts.
That's a great point, Kelly. So anybody who utilizes Constant Contacts or MailChimp or a service like that, we can take that list and make sure that we're not hitting those people twice. We want to make sure that we're creating a new audience and that we're reaching people that have not already interacted with your email. Going back to the sales funnel that Kelly brought up, we want to make sure that we're also talking about our in-market email product. One of the nice things is that we partner with a massive amount of websites and publishers across the country that give us a daily file of websites and visitors that have come to their website in the past. This is what we would refer to as trigger data, and it allows us to match up with people who have opted in with that email service, and it allows us to get back in front of them. So if somebody comes to your website and they've interacted with a product or service, or they've clicked on something, it allows us to go back and email that person directly. This is a great way for us to interact with those people and get them to convert with that particular product or service.
Absolutely. And these users are going to be really highly engaged with your brand after clicking on that promotion, knowing that they've been looking at similar content in the past 24 hours. So we typically see almost double the time spent on site, as well as double the average pages per visit from these in-market email campaigns.
Again, as Kelly mentioned, this is one of our favorite slides. We want to make sure that we're utilizing email marketing in every step along this journey. This is one of those products that actually really helps us hit every step throughout the sales funnel. It's really flexible. It allows us to reach a huge amount of people who are in that branding and awareness phase. And then it allows us to funnel down as people are getting closer to that conversion. So we want to make sure that we're targeting people in that interest and research phase. As they get closer to that intent phase, we can send them messaging that really highlights exactly what they are specifically looking for. If there's a special deal or there's a redeploy or there's a particular product that we want to get back in front of people, we can then retarget them as well. The other nice thing with email is that we can absolutely funnel in on that retention phase. So anybody who's come to your website or has interacted with that email, again, we can retarget those, or we can get back in front of them with a redeploy and make sure that we're reaching them over and over again. These are just some examples of email marketing. So these are some of the emails that we've put together in the past. We have the ability to build these out if that's something that you need help with, and certainly something that you can reach out to Kevin about as well. Measuring the results. As Kelly mentioned in her reporting slide, we certainly want to make sure that we're providing you with email reporting as well. One of the things that we look at very closely when it comes to an email is the open rate. So we want to make sure that there's a level of engagement that shows that people have read the email or interacted with it in some form. And then we also want to make sure that we're tracking those clicks as well. And not only do we want to track the clicks for that particular email, but we want to make sure that we know what platforms those clicks are coming from. So again, we'll look at certain browsers, different platforms throughout the internet, and the ways that people are interacting. We want to make sure that you can see those tangible results.
Great. Thanks, Chris. The last way we're going to talk about targeting your audience today is through device ID targeting, which is a form of geofencing. So looking at device ID targeting, we're creating custom polygons around specific locations. So our team's going in and hand drawing these polygons around specific locations to collect devices that had been seen at those locations as recent as 3 days ago and all the way up to a year ago. So it's a very powerful way to be able to reach your target audience. And as you can see here, our team's receiving those locations and can get very specific with where we're mapping. This is just an example of a shopping mall. We didn't want to include the parking decks, so that was something we were easily able to remove. We could use, for example, a 3-month look back and collect devices that were seen at this shopping mall in the last 3 months, and then serve that audience ads. I think these are some really great stats when it comes to device ID. 80% of people are checking their phones within 15 minutes of waking up. I think that's huge. And I also think it's crazy to see that 344, that's the number of times the average person checks their phone every day. We have our phones with us constantly. These stats don't lie here. So knowing that we can get in front of people at any time of the day based on where they've been in the past is really, really powerful. Looking at some of the benefits here, precise targeting, of course, we can target people seen at your competitor locations. We could target people seen at your own locations or maybe events, conferences, which leads to really high engagement and high click-through rates. But one of the coolest parts about device ID is we're able to show direct ROI. So geofencing is all about location targeting. We're able to show you with these campaigns how many people saw your ad and then actually walked into your store location. So it's a great product if you're looking to drive foot traffic into your store. Another great benefit, as some of you may have heard, Google has announced the cookieless future is on the horizon, and this product specifically does not rely on cookie data, which is very exciting. I think we'll see quite a surge in these device ID campaigns once that cookieless future is in place. So as always, going back to this sales funnel here, device ID is going to be really important in the beginning of a buyer's journey because it's going to reach people who have shopped in a physical location for the products and services that you offer. And then, of course, through that foot traffic reporting, we can tell exactly how many people came into our store or how many door pulls there were from our specific campaign. Typically, we see this product work really well when it's paired with other products. We're not targeting with any kind of behaviors or demographics when it comes to geofencing. It's purely location-based targeting. So looking at a few different popular strategies when it comes to device ID targeting, you have visitor targeting, and that's reaching consumers who have visited target locations in the past. So maybe there's an event that happened in the past, maybe there was a conference and we wanted to collect devices anyone seen at that large conference, really any locations, and again, as recent as 3 days ago, all the way back to a year ago. Another way we see this used is conquest visitor targeting. I like to use just the simple example, if I'm a McDonald's, Maybe I draw a geofence around all of the Burger Kings in my city and serve ads to anyone who's visited a Burger King in the last 3 months. Very powerful way to reach those competitor targets. And then we have household extension. So the primary source of ads are going to be delivered on your mobile device because of the nature of this product. However, we can extend to people's household devices, including their laptops, their desktops, and their tablets. And then lastly, we always want to place a back geo on these campaigns. That, in more simpler terms, that just means the geography of the campaign itself. Typically, we set that back geo to about a driving distance to your location. So if we were collecting devices and happened to capture someone who was visiting on vacation, wouldn't make sense to target them any longer. And by applying that back geo, we'd ensure we're only targeting a relevant local audience. So looking at device ID in application, this is just a Breckenridge brewery that we pulled, and you can see all of the different breweries in this area. And I want to make sure everyone understands it's a great way to target the competitors in the area, but it's not necessarily about stealing business from those competitors. It's really all about approaching those who have actively shown interest in the product or service that a company sells. And it may not be your direct competitors that you're targeting. We can get very creative with the different types of locations that we're targeting because our team's going in and hand drawing those geofences. As I mentioned, we have the foot traffic reporting, and this is really impressive, a really great way to be able to show direct ROI. So as we mentioned, we'll start with a set of locations, serve that location, serve the devices seen at those locations ads. And then whenever any of those people come into your brick and mortar location, we'll be able to track that foot traffic. So very powerful way to show foot traffic and look at that direct ROI. And then of course, similar to our display campaigns, we have a full reporting dashboard that's available to you all. You'll be able to look at this and monitor it daily, looking at impressions, clicks, the different creative performances, channel types, and device types. So very transparent reporting. And I do want to make sure we hit on this hard because it's a great way to measure our results and be able to learn from our results and grow our campaigns, make optimizations, and learn from everything that we've done in the past. All right, that is all we have for you in terms of advertising products. What questions do you all have?
Seen a couple in the chat and some things that we may want to address. Kevin's done a great job of answering these questions pretty thoroughly. Did want to explain search retargeting just a little bit more depth. One of the nice things about it is that we can actually look at previous search results and pull a keyword list that would allow us to target people based off historical searches. So Anthony, that was a great question. And Kevin, you did a great job answering that. And certainly something that we can dive into and pull a very thorough list and make sure that we're reaching people based off those search results. In terms of the email targeting, yes. Unfortunately, we cannot include a list of people that you're already sending a direct email to. However, as Kelly mentioned, we can deduplicate that list. So if you've got a list of people that you've sent an email to, we can take that, remove those people from our list, and just make sure that we're targeting people based off those specific targeting parameter. So for instance, somebody who has an interest in shopping or in retail or something like that, we can reach those people. Let's see. So another question just popped up. Hold on one second. Do I really need 2 email marketing lists? Anthony, no, you wouldn't necessarily need 2 email marketing lists. The people that we're targeting would not be part of your email marketing list already. So I just want to make that clear. We're targeting people based off of their search history or specific indicators that would lead us to believe that they have an interest in children's shoes or toys or something like that. So then we would be able to take the list of people that you've already emailed, remove that from our list, and make sure that we're bringing a new audience of people to your website. I hope that clarifies. Great. Let's see. We've got one question in the Q&A. Just want to see, is there additional charge or fee for redeployments of emails? Yes, there is a fee that goes along with those email redeployments. It's typically a little less expensive than the initial email. Certainly something that we can discuss one-off as well. And how would geofencing differ from a small company compared to a large corporation? That's a great question. It kind of depends on the strategy that you're utilizing. So if you're a small to medium-sized business and you want to target your people who've been to your competitors' locations, we can certainly do that. If you wanted to target people who were, let's say there were tourists and we wanted to target somebody who was in Times Square, we can certainly do that. There's really a lot of different strategies that we can utilize. And we really do work with small to medium-sized businesses. So certainly something that we can differentiate from how a large corporation would do it. I certainly think that would lead to a larger conversation. So I think that maybe we would want to set up a one-off phone call to discuss that further. Are these all new products? I'm relatively new to the New York family. Don't recall these coming up when I negotiated the package. There are some new products that are out there. We're constantly updating the products that we have available. So certainly something that we can discuss again in a side conversation. But yeah, we're in the digital world, we're constantly revamping our products. We're constantly releasing new products. So certainly an ongoing conversation that we can have. That's the last of the questions. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a couple more down here. My bad. How does device tracking work? It sounds interesting, but also invasive. Okay. So one of the nice things about device ID targeting is that it works off of your actual device identification number. The nice thing is that there are PII regulations in place. So we actually are scrambling the device identification number. So we don't actually have direct device identification numbers. They are hashed. So we can target those devices, but there are certainly personally identifiable information laws out there that we cannot circumvent here. So while we can target them with ads, we're not necessarily reaching them based off of their name, address, or phone number.
And the way we're able to do that is through location services on their phone. So some people may have that turned off. Most apps have location services running in the background, even something like the flashlight app. So to Chris's point, that's how we're able to actually collect the data, and then that device ID is scrambled so we cannot relate it to any one individual.
There are minimums in place, Nina. So certainly something, again, that we can have a one-off conversation with you about. And we can certainly send the deck. And then one thing that I would say is that, so for programmatic advertising, we are not talking about the New York family websites. We're talking about reaching people based off of their behaviors and their demographics on other websites, based on the exchange that Kelly mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. So we utilize the trade desk to make sure that we're targeting people based off of their behaviors and demographics, more so than just showing this on the New York family website. Yes, cookie tracking absolutely comes into play here. As Kelly mentioned, device ID targeting uses other identifiers. So there's a lot of different ways that we can use it. But yeah, we do target people based off demographics. There are cookies involved there, and certainly something that we can go in more depth. Let's see. I don't see any additional questions in the chat. Kevin, I'm not sure if you're planning on sending out this deck. Just want to make sure. Certainly.
Yeah, we'll send out the recording, and if everyone likes, we can send out the deck as well. But the recording will cover everything. The deck will be in the recording. You'll be able to hear the questions and answers. So you'll receive that later today. Any other questions?
I see one more here. If we're trying to drive ticket sales to an event space and say Queens, would geofencing be helpful here? Again, I think this is kind of something that we want to talk about maybe in a one-on-one conversation. Obviously, we want to make sure that we understand your goals before we make a full digital recommendation. But yeah, certainly ticket sales are something that we have utilized multiple campaigns for in the past, and certainly something that we can help drive more of. So yeah, I think that a good one-off conversation might be helpful here. Kevin, anything that you'd like to add there?
Yeah, no, I agree with that assessment. I think really the the best way to think about this, these are some strategies and tactics to leverage, and we kind of got into some of the details around those. But we offer more solutions than just this. So if you would like to have a conversation, a one-on-one conversation, there's no cost. We're happy to understand what it is you're attempting to accomplish and who that ideal audience is. And then we can come up with some suggestions and strategies and how these solutions might be applied in your example, specifically to you, that would be inclusive of these solutions. And it might also include some other solutions that might be even more applicable than what we covered today. So I think that the next best step for anybody who has any questions as it relates to their business specifically would be to reach out to us at that digitalsolutions@schnepsmedia.com, or to reach out to the person who invited you here today. And we could set up a time to have a more thorough conversation about your needs and your audience. And we can come up with some suggestions for you from there. No obligation, it's free. You're not committing to anything. It's really exploratory. Obviously, if it makes sense, then we can set something up for you. But yes, you can email that email, digitalsolutions@schnepsmedia.com, or reach out to the person who contacted you and invited you to today's webinar. Any other questions? All right, looks like we're good here.
All right, thanks,
Wait,
everyone.
hold on. Yes, we got one more. Is New York Metro still a thing? Yes, it is still a thing. That's an owned and operated platform that you could advertise on. So what we're talking about here today is beyond the platform. So if you're a current advertiser with us right now, we have a bunch of different opportunities that you could advertise in, whether it's print or digital, that are directly our sites that we own and manage. What we talked about today here is more extending beyond that audience and targeting your audience on other platforms through these different solution sets. You're welcome. I think that's all we have, guys. If anybody else has any more questions, like I said, the best way to reach us is that email or the person who invited you today. Really appreciate your time and attention, and hope to engage with you further at some point. Thank you so much.